Many believe Big Ben and company are the best shot at keeping Patrick Mahomes from back-to-back Super Bowls. And I think this is a good time to bring in our friend, Super Bowl champion, Ryan Clark. Stephen A., I'm going to start with you here. Do you give Pittsburgh any chance? Oh, wait, hold on, Ryan. You know what? Since you just got here, we're going to start with you. Do you give the Steelers any chance to knock off the Chiefs to take the AFC?
Absolutely. I'm not Stephen A. I'm not going to get on here and backtrack and backpedal and talk about how I don't believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers, how I want them
better watch
to
your mouth.
lose. I'm going to say what they are. I can say whatever I want to say.
You better watch your mouth.
Fireplace.
You better watch your mouth, Ryan Clark. You better be respectful. You better respect your elders. Go ahead.
Hey, man. I'm just treating you like you treat my guy Max, man.
No,
listen,
I know.
When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the way that they're put together, you know, they're a team that's put together to pressure Patrick Mahomes, to be able to play zone on the back end because you can rush four. They can also score on offense. And when we've watched Kansas City have trouble, it's been because teams are able to move the football on them. And when you have Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Deontay Johnson, there's so many weapons for Big Ben to choose from and throw to. And then on the other side of that, you have to have a quarterback who's willing to compete, willing to go toe-to-toe, and that can make crucial plays in critical football moments for your football team. And that's what Ben Roethlisberger can do. And I know for so long we talked about how great Andy Reid was as a football coach, right? It was just, can he win that championship? He's had all these great teams. We all love him. Well, you know a coach that does have a championship? Mike Tomlin. You know a coach who has never had a losing season? Mike Tomlin. Do you know a coach whose team is undefeated this year? Mike Tomlin. And so when you look at everything that you need to be a winning football team, a championship football team, and dethrone a champion, the Pittsburgh Steelers have it. And they can absolutely unseat the Kansas City Chiefs as the AFC representative in the Super Bowl.
I'm taking a wait-and-see approach to this, Ryan, in all seriousness, man, because I'm reticent, because you know this better than me. There are times, for example, where a mistake here or there is made by the Pittsburgh Steelers and their defense is able to overcome it. My fear is that you make those mistakes early and then you end up looking like Tampa Bay in the first quarter against the Kansas City Chiefs, because Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce come out throwing bombs and running roughshod over you and put you in that kind of hole. We've seen that happen to the Pittsburgh Steelers before, particularly in a playoff game against Jacksonville with Blake Bortles as their quarterback. Imagine what could happen if something like that went against what happened with Patrick Mahomes. So I'm not doubting.
It's a different team, though.
I know that. It's a different, and I totally get that. I understand it's a totally different team, and I keep bringing up the weapons. But I'm going to tell you why a guy like James Conner, this is where my reticence comes in. Love James Conner, Max, Ryan, respect him, love his story. We understand the adversity that he's overcome. God bless him. We wish him nothing but the best. And he's pretty damn good. But I guess I'm spoiled a little bit, Ryan, by the Jerome Bettises of the world, the Le'Veon Bells of the world, guys that come out of the backfield that can really, really assist you in moving the chains and keeping the ball out of the opposing team's offense. That's a question mark I have. I have no question about the Steelers receiving. I see Ben complete 67% of his passes. The Claypools, Juju Smith-Schusters, Eric Ebron, James Washington, Deontay Johnson. They go 5 wide. We know what time it is. We get it. But you've got to be able to methodically march down the field and beat a team and keep the ball out of the opposing offense's hands. That's my question mark about the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. That's why I got to see more of it to believe it. That's where I'm coming from, Ryan.
I mean, the Patriots team that beat the greatest show on turf, who was the name brand running back? You know, like Belichick has a good running game a lot of the time without a name brand guy. You don't need a name brand guy to move the chains and to be respectful on the ground and to do what you got to do. But I mean, like Tomlin right now, Mike Tomlin has a chance to elevate his stature, his status among the all-time great coaches. He's already a future Hall of Fame coach. He's won Super Bowls. He's come in and went 8-8 without a quarterback, starting a third stringer. But look what he's doing this season. He's 10-0, right? Now imagine for a second that they wind up in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he turns in a coaching performance. He has a team like the Patriots that played the greatest show on turf. Oh, my God, the greatest show. These Rams, they can't be beat. They have the receivers. They have everything they need, right? Like, but that well-rounded New England team who wasn't going to show you how great they were against run-of-the-mill teams. They needed another great team to bring it out in them, to show you everything they could do. If Pittsburgh does that to Kansas City, that actually, the year after we said Mike Tomlin just turned in his best coaching performance, actually that would be Tomlin's greatest coaching performance, and it would elevate him even more. Here's the problem. He'd be going against Andy Reid if you're asking, can they knock off the Chiefs to win the AFC? And Andy Reid was a guy who got very close, great coach, 5 NFC championship games, right? But no cigars. Now he has a cigar. Now Andy Reid's got that too. And he's totally loaded. And Reid, like Tomlin, is a truly great coach because he was able to change with the times. He wasn't stuck like Mike McCarthy in a previous era. He was a great coach in a previous era. And if anything, he got even better going forward, like Tomlin. So I think because of that, because the Chiefs also have a great coach, a Super Bowl winning coach, a guy who has consistently had success at the highest level, I think that neutralizes somewhat the thing that really makes Pittsburgh different and special, which is their head coach. And I think the talent in KC will carry the day.
And see, that's not the thing is not who we're predicting to win. The question is, can they do it? Now, there are some teams that no matter what they did, you feel like if they go up against Kansas City, whether it's a regular season game or playoff game, they don't have what it takes. What I'm saying is, when you look, I still have Kansas City at number 1 on my power ranking because I believe all of those things that you said, Max. But when I think of a team that's perfectly and ready-made to beat them, to unseat them one day, right? Because I don't think there's a team in the league that can beat the Kansas City Chiefs 10 times out of 10 or beat them, more, the majority of times out of 10 than the Kansas City Chiefs will win. But you just got to win once. You got to be good that day. You got to be better that day. And I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers can do that.
Well, see, listen, and I get where you're coming from. I reiterate my point about needing to see it to believe it. I'm looking at T.J. Watt, Stephon Tuitt, Bud Dupree. Those are the 3 guys leading them in sacks. You're going to be able to get to the quarterback as quick as Patrick Mahomes releases that football. His moving ability, he's got some wheels on him as well. Those things could ultimately be problematic. You know me, I've always got a question about their secondary. And then on the offensive side of the ball, look at this. Ben Roethlisberger has played at all 10 games this year. You know how many times he's been sacked, Max, Ryan? He's been sacked 10 times. 1 time per game. He's been sacked 10 times this season, which means they're protecting him. But they got the 24th ranked rushing attack.
Get rid of the ball
that could have something to do with attempt because even though you got Ben Snell and you got James Conner running the football, you're throwing it more than you're running it. I get all of that. But on far too many occasions, I see them call running plays, and I don't see what I need to see from their backs in terms of being effective enough when it really, really counts to move the chains, make a difference, and keep that ball out of the opposing offense's hands. That is my ultimate fear against Kansas City. Pittsburgh should beat everybody else. And to get to your point, Max, when you talk about what Mike Tomlin could be, as great as he is, Hall of Fame coach, credentials speak for himself. We love him. We know it. But here's the bottom line. He could also hurt his cachet a little bit, too, because if you go 15-1, 16-0, 14-2. You got the number 1 seed, and then you get bounced out by somebody other than Kansas City. That's not going to look good either.
All right, guys. Well, from 2 Super Bowl caliber teams, I think now we should maybe transition to the NFC East. What do you say? We're going to talk about the Eagles. They have lost 3 in a row and are only a half game ahead of Stephen A's Cowboys for last place in the NFC East. So what does Doug Peterson think about his job security in Philly?
Have you received assurances that you'll be able to see through this season as head coach?
I haven't been reassured one way or the other, no.
How much pressure are you feeling from the very top of the organization?
Our relationship is good. We have we communicate, a lot throughout the week. Listen, some of these questions might be for Mr. Lurie, obviously, but look, my job is to prepare the team and get ready for Green Bay.
All right. Lots of issues among the Eagles, but of course they play in the NFC East, so anything could happen. They could still take the division. But Max, if they don't make the playoffs, should Doug Peterson be fired?
If they do or if they don't, you got to get rid of Doug Peterson. I don't even think he wants to be there. When your defense plays their guts out against Seattle, right? When they play the way they did, and you're on the Seattle 15 down 11 with 8 40 to go. 4th and 4, right? Look, I'm all for being aggressive. Don't worry about the negative outcome, but there's also such a thing as situational football. You're going to need to kick a field goal at least. You have a chance there to limit it to a one-score game, or depending on how you look at it, because you got to go for 2. You got to get it in the end zone twice. Nevertheless, you're still in a position to get the game to overtime, right? To go for it there, to me, in that kind of, you're saying our offense is never going to be down on the 15-yard line again. Right? Like, I don't believe in him. It's saying, I don't want any part of this. When you go to Carson Wentz on 5 consecutive possessions, right? It's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You bring in Jalen Hurts. He finally does something positive, a little 6-yard completion. And on 3rd down, Carson Wentz is right back in the game and he gets sacked. To me, that's Doug Peterson saying, okay, tough guy, you want to do it your way? Here you go. There you go. What can you do? And you never give it to Miles Sanders? You never get it. You don't have to run on 1st down all the time, but could you mix a run game in a little bit? It seems to me Doug Peterson doesn't want to be there. This goes, Howie Roseman should go too. And if you can somehow move Carson Wentz's contract, you should start it all over again. Guys, Roseman also was a guy who was saying, remember what was coming out, like, why didn't they trade for DeAndre Hopkins? They need that top receiver. He didn't want to give up the 2nd-round pick. Really? Because he used that 2nd-round pick. He didn't trade up for C.D. Lamb. He used that 2nd-round pick to get a backup quarterback. Like, nothing makes sense. Nothing fits together, including the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, but you're not going to get rid of the owner right now. So everyone has to go after the season. I don't care if they win the NFC least. They got to make changes.
Listen, Roseman.